What's up, baby? Today's show is sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University. Yeah! We talking about proper preparation. We're talking about trying to be better at life. How can we improve, right? Whether we're talking about just as an individual, how do we improve if we're talking about in the job space? I mean, whether we're talking about just all the different ways to be prepared for the next step, for that next task. Southern New Hampshire University and some of these online degree programs that they are offering. Come on, baby. You can't beat this. And they have super competitive low tuition rates that are, like I said, going to prepare you for whatever your next steps might be as it pertains to your professional career. It's not too late. I mean, shoot, what you waiting on? I mean, you're watching me, but what you waiting on? Come on, man. You see the link right there, right? snhu.edu/Arthur Moats. Tap in and go out here and get a chance to prepare yourself for greatness. But now it's time for regularly scheduled programming. Now, I need to know a little bit more of this backstory because I know you ended up at Pitt, but that wasn't initially where you was, decided to go. So talk to me about that story, man.
Yeah. So back when I was in high school, the NIL, all this transfer portal stuff was a little different, right? So there was, I know you probably remember it, right? Like if you went to a Power 5 school and you didn't graduate and you wanted to transfer, you had to sit out another year. So one thing kind of led to another. Before my senior year, I was kind of one of those guys that I was like, man, I want to get this over with, right? Like whatever happens with school happens with school. I want to focus on football, going to my senior year of high school, enjoy with my friends, blah, blah, blah. So at the time, the best academic and athletic school that, I'd offered me was the University of Pennsylvania. They were Ivy League. So
I was about to say, that's Ivy League. Don't rush the Ivy League talk. Yeah.
I'm not sure I would have finished there if I decided to stay, but it's always a big what if. But no, I decided to commit for my senior season, shut it down. Was really happy with my decision. One thing kind of led to another, lit it up my senior year, and Pitt came calling 2 weeks before signing day. I think the head coach at the time was Paul Christ. He was Pitt head coach.
Okay, yep.
Wisconsin. And then they were shuffling, so they brought Pat Narduzzi in. He was the defensive coordinator at Michigan State. Brought him in, hired him as head coach, and then the next week, the OC was at my school watching me work out. That weekend, I was on an official visit, and then I signed a week later. So it was it was really fast, really kind of hectic how it happened. But for me, right, like the opportunity to grow up in Pittsburgh, to play for Pitt, to play ACC football, that was a no-brainer, right? So I flipped 2 weeks before signing day, and I decided to be the hometown kid to go to the hometown school.
Hey, listen, now we know that's a legendary move. Anybody that plays in the Whitfield, we're all talking about, Pitt. You want to go to Pitt or West Virginia or Penn State? Like, we know it's all in that, depending on who you are. But hearing that you did commit earlier in terms of going to Penn, what were the other options that you were considering, or was that just the one that you said, man, this is the school for me, man?
Yeah, so I had one of these like throwing days, junior days that my coach kind of set up for my senior season, where a bunch of coaches came and watched me throw. I had no offers to that point, and literally as soon as we were done, Akron offered me on the spot as soon as I was done throwing. So that was Akron was
the Zips, right? Yeah.
The Akron Zips. And as I was doing my research later that night, I found out I was one of 27 quarterbacks that they offered. So as you can imagine, right? I'm like, man, what are we doing here? So
you ahead of the game, finding out that they offered that many people, man.
Right. It was on an emotional high. I was like, man, I just got my first scholarship, blah, blah, blah. This is cool. And then as soon as I got home that night, I'm like, man, they offered 30 guys. So, but nonetheless, that's kind of what opened the door, right? Like as soon as one school offers, schools in the
rest
conference,
don't jump
like,
on.
Hey, why aren't we looking at this kid? We should start looking at this kid, right? Then it kind of snowballed a little bit. So I had a bunch of group of 5 offers. I had like Fordham, Central Connecticut, New Mexico State, Akron, JMU was actually one of my first offers. I'd visited a few times. And then I had a couple small FCS schools, Towson, JMU, some of these little ones. But to me it was Penn, right? Like it was academic, it was athletic. I knew a few guys that went there, and so I decided to make that call before my senior season. I wasn't necessarily one of these guys that had. I was 6'2", 180 pounds, soaking wet when I graduated high school. So I wasn't this big 5-star recruit that was 6'5", 220 or prototypical guy. So kind of had to get it out of the mud, I guess, and see where my journey took me, and it ended up working out. So I'm happy that I ended up making the right decisions along the way.
No, without a doubt. And like you said, man, that's always something that's interesting, man. Because whenever you hear a quarterback, man, and we think of their storyline, man, you're an NFL quarterback. You're a quarterback that got drafted. Man, you were a player of the year. You went to a national championship. You just assumed that, man, everything from the beginning to the end was just, easy. But when you hear the story, it's like, no, man, you've had to overcome adversity, man. You've definitely had to dig deep. And like you said, getting it out the mud, man, when I'm like, yo, you were committing to Penn and then you end up at Pitt. It's like, all right, that's interesting, right?